One time, this homeless guy crashed my college dorm and he convinced everybody that he went there, and he started an argument with me in the common room about feminism. And I didn't have the vocal skills, the verbal skills that I do now. Not to say that they're amazing, but they're much better than they were when I was in college, because I really couldn't form my words together when I was emotional, and I just started crying. It was really embarrassing. And there was a lot of people there. A lot of men kind of being like, don't believe what you read on the internet, talking about like assault statistics. Seriously. And this man started arguing with me. His name is Earl. Let me backtrack. How did Earl get to my school? Okay, so basically one day, and this is also a story about how your brain tricks you into forgetting things that you already knew, because so many people have started acting like a different reality is true. So basically, this was my freshman year, and I lived in a dorm because I was technically an international student because I went to school in LA, and I'm Canadian. So I was in this like kind of miscellaneous dorm that had different levels, different grades, whereas most dorms were like freshman dorms, sophomore dorms, apartments, you know what I mean? And we were in this miscellaneous kind of dorm that had different groups of people. And there were some transfers and things like that, right? And so one day this guy comes in, and honestly, I was attracted to him, okay? He was my type. His name was Earl. Don't know his last name. Don't know if that's his real name. You know what I mean? And he comes in and he starts like just hanging out in the common room every day. You know, we would always hang out in the common room. There was a pool table, there was ping pong. There, not a pool table, there was only ping pong. And then there was like study tables, and then we had like a place to eat right beside. So we'd always hang out there. And like, I was such a shit disturber at that time, and I have so many stories from that time. Me and my best friend at the time, Tom, okay? We were here to see the evolution of Earl in planting himself into our school society, okay? So basically, he comes in, he first tells everybody that he is undeclared, that his major is undeclared, because obviously you're always asking, oh, what's your major? What's your major? He was saying that he was a transfer, because he came in late to the school year. Like, it was a couple months in. And he's telling everybody, there's like, maybe, I'm saying maybe like 10 people in the common room, like generally like similar folks all the time. And he's telling everyone, oh yeah, I'm undeclared. Or at least he told that to me and Tom. Maybe it was just me and Tom that he said that to. And then months later, or a month later, when he has now become like one of the popular kids in like the sophomore transfer group of guys, who was like, again, full of like misogynists, but at the time I couldn't articulate. And I did make out with one of them, I think my senior year. And then he was really mean to me, but he always dated girls that looked like me. It was really weird. Anyways, but this was before any of that happened and before I really knew about them, their personalities. And so Earl had implanted himself into their group and became their leader. Like, literally one time I went into the diner beside my dorm, and I literally remember this picture of like Earl sitting on the booth like he was Jesus, like a sermon on the mount, like just talking to this group of guys and maybe like a girl or two, this big booth, and they're all like listening to him and laughing at him, and he's like literally sitting there like looking down at them, like telling a story. And sometimes I would be, because I had really bad time management back then, and so sometimes I would be writing a paper literally all night or in the middle of the night, or finishing my homework like till 4 a.m. or something, because I had rehearsal till like midnight. So I was in dance crews and all that. And I'd be down there by myself, and I would see, in the common room, I would see Earl going up and down the stairs in the hallways, just like wandering, but kind of checking for me, like almost like he's checking to see if I'm still there. And I just like clocked that, but I thought it was weird. And then I remember one time when I saw him sitting like a Sermon on the Mount, looking down at people and talking to them. He was telling them that his major was like political science or something. And Tom and I were listening to that, and nothing, because he had ingratiated himself into society, and he was telling us like conflicting things. Like, this story is from like so long ago now that I can't remember like all the crazy details, but he would tell some of us one thing and another group the other. And like, he told somebody he was a science major, somebody he was a poli-sci major, somebody he was undeclared. But by the time, and he told us that he was undeclared. But by the time he told them that he was in poli-sci, he was saying he was always in poli-sci. Like from his last school. Like the story had changed. Do you know what I'm saying? But Tom and I like didn't clock that until the lies were exposed and completely unfolded. And then I remember one time we were all in the common room and these guys, one of the older guys, I think it might have been juniors actually, but they were transfers. And they were talking about how women really have the power in like party situations and at frats, like they're the ones that have the power because they're the ones that can reject men or not, and they get in places for free. And I didn't really have the verbiage at the time to explain why that was bullshit. So I tried to say, no, you're wrong. Like, haven't you seen the statistics about how many women have been assaulted? And he was like, you know, don't believe everything you read on the internet. That's what Earl said. Earl said, don't believe everything you read on the internet. And he started going in on me about how I don't know what I'm talking about. And he just like, all of a sudden was going in on me in front of everyone. And I was trying to say like, no, you're wrong, but I couldn't like say anything like factual. Like I didn't know how to speak yet. You know, I even was taking a women and gender studies class at that time, and I couldn't really raise my hand and shit. Like I didn't know how to express myself the way I do now. And I literally remember I started crying and he was going in on me, and then he left. And then the other guy was saying, you know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Like that guy, he thinks he's the nice guy. The one who was like starting the conversation, who said, you know, women have the power, like they can reject you and embarrass you. You know, and if it was now, I would say like your greatest fear is getting embarrassed. Our greatest fear is much worse. You know what I mean? But I didn't have the composure. I didn't have the words at the time. I was a freshman. I was 18. You know what I mean? I didn't know how to speak like that. Anyways, one day, we literally are getting a text. I get a text from Tom saying Earl is missing. Earl is missing, saying Max and whoever said that Earl is missing and they're freaking out and blah, blah, blah. And it became a fucking scandal, bro. It became a scandal. It literally was in our college newspaper. Oh, this homeless guy crashes college dorm, blah, blah, blah. And the thing, he ended up telling one of his like closer friends that his mom lived not that far and he would walk here every day because he wanted to check the school out. But it like now became clear he was trying to sleep in the dorm. And that's why he was like checking if I had left, and he was just wandering in the stairwells. And I can't believe I let this man who didn't even go to my school make me cry in front of everyone. How embarrassing. You don't even go here. You don't even go here. You're making me cry about misogyny in front of all these men. It was a canon event though, obviously. But it all started to make sense, and then Tom and I were like, oh my god, yeah, he told us that he had like 3 different majors. And we didn't remember that when he was telling the other, because he spoke with such conviction. And that's the thing. I think in a way, it reminds me of my father. Like, he has a bit of that finesse skill where it's like you have not a leg to stand on, but for some reason all these people are listening to you talk. It's really crazy. Yeah, so that's the story of Earl. And I don't know where Earl is now, but it did make it into the news at some point. It's really weird. Anyway,